Is Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge, saving the British monarchy? You know what? I really think that she is. You know, it's been 11 years since she married Prince William. Actually, on Friday will be their 11th anniversary. And it's just been really amazing to see how she's truly grown as a royal. Because I honestly was not a Kate fan. But then she's just really grown in the last, about 4 years since Meghan came on the scene. Catherine has just kind of blown it out of the water in so many ways. And I'm just going to tell you guys a bit why I think Catherine right now, especially with all the chaos going on in the monarchy, we obviously have the Queen who's not doing too well, all of this stuff going on. But I think that Kate is really just she's really just saving the whole enterprise. And so I'm going to give you a couple reasons why I think Kate the Great. I know Tadler tried to, they titled that as one of their articles and then they slighted her in it. But no, guys, Kate is the Great. She is the great one who's going to help, I think, save the British monarchy. Hi guys, welcome to Royal News Network. If you haven't been here before, my name is Brittany and we talk about everything related to royals here. So that's news, gossip, fashion, jewelry, television shows, even movies, history. We do it all here. Obviously, this is still a new channel, so we're still growing. So nothing is perfect, but I really hope if you guys want to hear more about everything related to royals, please feel free to subscribe. I do a lot about Harry and Meghan, the British royals, but I also want to expand to do other royal families as well. And so I'm working on some of that content, and I will also be going to the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. So if you would like to follow me during that, that would be fantastic. Her first couple years of marriage, Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge, formerly Kate Middleton, and even, when she was Kate Middleton, she was very kind of unfinished in a way, if that's the right term for it. So we just didn't know very much about her. We kind of knew vagaries. I mean, really, we never heard her actually speak on camera really until her engagement interview. There is one paparazzi video where you can't actually hear her talk, and I've tried to look for it before and I couldn't find it again, but she was kind of telling them, please stop following me. It was essentially what she was doing, because her and William, they did kind of go to the clubs, they lived up their 20s, and a lot of people nicknamed her Waity Katie because she just was waiting for William, and everybody's like, well, you're not doing anything else. So she really got this reputation. And so when William kind of finally made an honest woman out of her, there were still a lot of skeptics. I mean, I was kind of really invested in the royal wedding just from a historical perspective. I was really interested in what tiara she was gonna wear, because I kind of came onto it because Crown Princess Victoria got married the year before, and I really loved her wedding look. So I was just kind of looking forward to it. It's kind of one of the biggest royal events of my generation, besides, Princess Diana's death. So it was the time when I really became more aware, and I started following people, and they probably influenced me a bit, but people did call her, after she married William, Duchess Doolittle, because nobody really knew what Kate did. Even when she was dating William, she didn't really have a real job. She had a part-time job at Jigsaw at one point, and then worked for her parents, but we just didn't know that much about who Kate is. And I would say during the first couple years of her marriage, she kind of continued that. I mean, we saw bits and pieces of her, but she was so tense. And so one of the things that she did is she did what kind of became known as crotch clutching. So she had her clutch, and she would clutch it in front of her crotch, and she would walk that way all the time. So if she met somebody, she'd shake their hand and put her hands right back. Like, it was just got to the point where it was a little ridiculous. She walked like that. So it hunched her shoulders over. So she just never looked very confident, and we just didn't know that much about her. It took forever for her to finally give a speech, and and she did a couple of these projects, but then sometimes she didn't really follow up with them very well. And so I would say that was the case during, especially, the first couple of years of her marriage, especially, even after George and Charlotte, she was still kind of in that tense state. But what I think Meghan did, which was really, really great, is Meghan married into the royal family. And all of a sudden, I felt like Kate really relaxed. There was somebody else there to take some of the spotlight, some of the pressure off of her. I really don't think she was that jealous or envious of Meghan, really. She was just so grateful that the media had somebody else to focus their attention on, rather than solely it being about her and her family. Obviously, she is a future Queen Consort. People want to know what she's doing, what she's wearing, but she doesn't have the same level of intensity that she did. I mean, I think she somewhat enjoyed it when she kind of first married in. You know, she was very excited, I think, during the Canada tour. But after a while, I think she really did kind of, you know, she understood it was part of the job and everything, but she really just kind of just took a step back and was just really kind of, you know, kind of doing the waiting thing. I think people nicknamed her Waity Katie, but I think that's what kind of saved her. And so when Prince Louis was born, I feel like Kate all of a sudden just blossomed. Like, her family was complete, the crotch clutching was gone, and all of a sudden she was just, and I especially feel like some of the pictures of her and Louis, especially this one where it's kind of behind her over the shoulder, Louis just smiling. You just like felt the joy, felt the familyness. And then like a couple of weeks or months later, it wasn't too long after she was still kind of on maternity leave, we saw her at the polo game. And that's where I was really like, oh my gosh. And this is one of, I think, the first points, the great thing that Kate has done is Kate. And I know a lot of people criticize her for not working very much, and she still gets criticism for that. However, I think Catherine is truly raising her children. She's not leaving it to nannies. She's not leaving it to her staff members, William, anything like that. She and William both, and I'll give William mad props here too. They are the parents to their children. They are the ones who discipline them, who guide them, who give them direction. I'm sure they have a nanny, obviously a full-time nanny, but she works the way that the nanny is supposed to work. A nanny is supposed to be kind of like just an extra pair of hands, helps kind of organize the kids when mom's a bit busy. You know, she's not raising them. Catherine and William are very much engaged in what's going on in their children. And I think Catherine brought that in because she is very engaged with her own family. She's very close to her mother, her sister, her brother, her father. And I think that family togetherness, that family closeness has really inspired Catherine to really invest in her own children. And again, at that polo game, I was like, my opinion of Kate was totally changed because her children, the way they were hanging all over her and, you know, interacting with her, they were very much her kids. They were nobody else's, because there have been other royals. I think Crown Princess Mary and Crown Prince Frederick really fall into this camp, where there was this one photo shoot and they had their two children. So this was Prince Christian and Princess Isabella, and they were toddlers. They were very young. But I think Isabella was like, they were trying to do a photo shoot or something, and Isabella was on the floor like throwing a temper tantrum and crying, and they just did not know what to do. And Catherine diffused a toddler temper tantrum in front of the world's media in Germany. She kind of brought down Charlotte a bit, and we also saw this on the balcony as well. Charlotte kind of tripped and fell off her thing, and she was just a bit upset about that. Catherine just immediately picked her up, just took a couple minutes, calmed her down, set her down. Charlotte was fine. And I know somebody thinks, well, all moms do that, but you know, sometimes kids are just kind of can be chaotic. They can, you know, they can have, you know, visceral reactions. They don't calm down. But, you know, Charlotte obviously very much took comfort from her mother, and knows her mother is a stabilizing influence. And also you see this very sweet picture. This was in the 2019 Trooping the Color as well. There was this cute picture of Prince William and his kids. You know, they were, you know, George is totally wrapped around his leg. And we also saw as well on the balcony, Prince Louis, daddy, daddy, daddy. And, you know, so I think Catherine and William, and I think Catherine has been a huge part of this. And I think William, based on his childhood, wanted this as well, wanted this stable family. And they've really, really gotten it. And I think that just is a huge benefit to the monarchy, because if Catherine and William raise 3 well-adjusted children, we will avoid the mess of Andrew and the mess of Harry. We will avoid, as a monarchy, you know, those of us like me who are royalists, who enjoy the monarchy, enjoy the history and the legacy of it, like if those kids come out being like pretty much as normal as you can be considering the circumstances. You know, polite. We've all seen them be very polite, very respectful. I mean, I think we're starting to see a little bit, you know, of George and Charlotte are both very shy. I think Louis will be a bit more outgoing. Charlotte's a bit sassy from what she's seen. She chastised the cameraman, not really, but she just went at Prince Louis' christening. She's like, you guys aren't coming. And so it was just a very cute moment. And so I think if they grow up and they have a very healthy respect for the institution they're in, their positions, and, you know, do they just have good mental health, then I shouldn't say good mental health, because mental health can affect you no matter how great your childhood is. However, I think if they can be a very stabilizing influence on them, I think we'll see a lot less of what happened with William and Harry. Obviously, part of that is Diana, but the huge contentious Wales divorce did not help matters. And I think we obviously see Charles, you know, kind of babied Harry a lot. And so we've seen all this with Harry and Meghan and Mexit. And so I think Prince William and Catherine, if they can raise their children really, really well, they will, I mean, Catherine is worth her weight in gold to the monarchy, and she deserves to wear every tiara and every diamond in the building. If she can raise those kids to where they're pretty much good, like, that's saying a ton. And then you have this as well, I think, is that Catherine has been a hugely stabilizing influence on William. We've heard a little bit from a new biography of William that he does have a bit of a temper. But I think what Catherine has done is just really be just this stabilizing, calming force with William. She is even keeled. She is not flustered. She is not, I mean, guys, her nude photos were released to the world, and she went out in South Asia as if nothing had happened. William, you could tell, was mad and angry and upset, and I'm sure she was devastated. We've heard, I think Rebecca Deacon, who was kind of her former kind of personal assistant type person, said that Catherine was devastated, and obviously she mourned in private. However, in public, she was not ruffled in the slightest. And I think you see that in their probably relationship as well, is that, obviously they do have fights. Every couple does. They are not perfect. There, in fact, is one picture of Catherine, I think in Poland, and it was like their first day there, and they clearly, I think, had an argument or something didn't go right or something, because Catherine looks quite mad in these pictures. However, when she comes out, she's usually, she's on point. She does not look flustered, and I think that's been a hugely stabilizing influence on William. So I think, couples, they can either bring out the best or worst in each other. I think Catherine has really brought out the best in William by helping him accept his destiny, accept, his role as king. And so, but then you see, if you compare them to like Harry and Meghan, what Meghan has done is kind of pushed at all of Harry's insecurities, created this very toxic, drama-filled environment. And the two of them, we've just seen them go off the rails, and it's just very sad to see what Harry has become. I think with a partner who encouraged him to kind of accept his role as the spare and how to develop within that space, I think he would be in a much better place than he is now. And if he decides to leave, that should have been his decision. I know a lot of people talking about, well, he wanted to leave anyways. Well, if he wanted to leave anyways, he should have just left. If Meghan kind of pushed him out in any way, that'll become a source of resentment between the two of them. And I think if you look at Catherine and William as well, William really wanted to make sure Catherine understood exactly what she was getting into. Now, there are rumors that William did, mess around a bit while they were dating and stuff, like vague rumors on internet and Tumblr. So we don't know how much some of these are true, and they could very well be true. I think in aristocratic circles, cheating is a bit more acceptable in a way than probably most of us would consider it. But I think William knew that the monarchy is not easy. It is both incredibly impressive and regal, and also very, very dull. And so William wanted to make sure Catherine could handle the media scrutiny, the pressures, being a kind of diplomat. I've heard somebody say, royalty is very kind of boring because it's all about, most of the time, just small talk. And so you have to be a very special person to do that day in and day out. And, your cameras are on you all the time. You have to be on your best behavior 24/7 pretty much. And, Catherine really has never put a foot wrong. And so I think they really did create a great foundation before their marriage. And you see this as well, I think, I've mentioned this in another video, I think they are great friends at the core of it. They're best friends. And I think that makes the best couples in the long term. It's if you are really good friends, if you enjoy each other, just generally, you enjoy doing the same things, the same activities, the same trips, you know, you have a common core of, you know, activities that you enjoy doing. I mean, obviously they have different interests as well, but there's, you know, a lot of things that you enjoy doing together. You will last longer. Like the two of them, you know, they ski, they enjoy skiing, they bring their children skiing, they enjoy tennis together and they play tennis together. And so those things bring couples together and I think cements them in a long term. And so I think William was really smart in developing a very strong relationship with Catherine, because when the huge media spotlight is on them for the rest of their lives, he has to know that she can handle it, because otherwise he doesn't want to be in the same situation as his parents. And I thought it was interesting reading Lady Colin Campbell's book that she often talked about how Meghan is a lot like Diana, and not the good parts of Diana. Diana was many things. She was a lovely, wonderful, loving woman, but she could also be vindictive, spiteful. She could, you know, kind of turn on a dime. She could cut people out of her life. Like, you know, she was not a perfect person. And so I think William is kind of one of those kids, you know, you see some kids and they just perpetuate the same problems that they've had in their family generation after generation. And then you see other members of the family that's like, no, I'm not going to follow that path. I'm actually going to go in an entirely different direction. I want to do the opposite of what I had growing up. And I think William is like that. And I think he wanted to make sure, unlike his father, that Catherine knew what it was, knew the sacrifices, knew the risks. And I think she did kind of, in a way, kind of plan and strategize a bit to meet him. But she's playing the long game, and she's playing the very good long game that a lot of women in royal circles have played throughout the centuries. And she played it well. Meghan Markle, not so much. And I think you see this as well, you know, Harry and Meghan rushed it. And I don't really think, and they lived apart. So Catherine and William lived together for several years before they even got married. Harry and Meghan, you know, they basically lived an ocean away for the vast majority of their relationship. How well did they actually know each other before they got engaged and married? It's questionable. And they, you know, they're very demonstrative in their love. And to me, that always kind of strikes me as a bit juvenile. Because, you know, sometimes the mark of a mature love is that you don't need to hang on to your partner's hand 24/7 to know that they love you, they support you, they're right behind you and stuff. And we see Catherine and William holding hands. And I think they have gotten more demonstrative since Harry and Meghan entered the picture in a way to kind of answer the calls that they're not very much. But I also think, you know, we see them in private and they do hold hands quite a bit. But they understand that when they're on duty, when they're in front of the public, you know, they're not pawing at each other. And that doesn't mean they don't love each other. I think it means that they understand what their roles actually are. And Harry and Meghan, to me, just never actually understood that. I think the other thing that really makes Catherine a huge asset to the monarchy is she really has never stepped a foot wrong. She has never, you know, she's had those wardrobe malfunctions, and some of them were pretty bad, and like you could see a lot. So I think, and she's pretty much gotten that under control now. Like the last really bad one we had was in India. That's the last one I remember. But I mean, her dress flew up in the back completely in Australia. This is not the one where we actually saw the curve of her behind, but this is one where like her dress is like literally over her head. Like, cause there was this gust of wind and it flew up and her dress is up here and she's like desperately holding it. But I mean, that's happened to other royal ladies, although it did happen to Catherine a lot. And so she's gotten that mostly under control, but really she hasn't stepped a foot wrong. And she didn't make the mistake, I think, of rushing into everything. You know, Meghan, you know, they did this meeting before Harry and Meghan were married, and they did this kind of panel with the four of them, you know, because they were going to be the Fab Four that lasted, what, all of like 3 months. And so all four of them were there, and Meghan said, well, I'm going to hit the ground running. Well, she didn't hit the ground running, but she also like was trying to step out of bounds, out of her place, and you know, she was disregarding protocol, didn't wear a hat with the Queen when she should have. And so I really think she's just made major mistakes, and those things kind of stick with people. I think Catherine has really never stepped a foot wrong. Like, she's made little bitty mistakes, but in terms of massive mistakes, we're talking like, you know, Fergie sucking the toes and, you know, Meghan with the outrageous spending. I mean, Catherine spent a lot too, no doubt, but like, Meghan wore $100,000 dress. Like, that's way too much for her position within the monarchy. You know, maybe Kate has a dress worth that much, but we've never heard that, and she's never gone to Dior for a look. She has one Chanel look, and that was only, she only wore that when she went to France. And so Catherine has been very good, I think, about diplomatic dressing, and she always looks put together. What I mean by that is her hair is always immaculately done, whether it's curls or, you know, headgear or, you know, straight or whatever. And, you know, I'm not always a fan of her hats. I'm not maybe always a fan of her looks, but she's always well put together. She puts a fantastic face on the monarchy because she is professional. And I think during these last couple of years, especially this last year, it's gotten even better. So she's doing more suits now. Today, I thought with her visit with Anne, she looked fantastic in that self-portrait dress. I actually saw that dress online before and really, really liked it. And now it's mostly sold out. But I was like, I really, really liked it. And I was like, I knew there was a reason why I liked it. Anyways, and so Catherine does this really great job, I think, of dressing for her role, dressing for her part, not overdoing it, and just being very slowly walking into it. Now, some people can say she should have done more. She should have done it faster. But she's also married to the second in line to the throne, not the first, that's Charles. So she can't really step over Charles and Camilla because, again, the monarchy is a hierarchy. You know, the queen's at the top, then you got Charles, William, Harry, Andrew, Edward, and then Anne. And so you have, and, you know, obviously all their descendants in between, but, you know, the focus is on the queen, then Charles, then William. And so she very much has a couple of people ahead of her. And I think, again, her slowly working into it, she really developed, I mean, I think with her, especially her Hold Still project, I mean, that was just so fantastic. What Catherine did with Hold Still during the COVID pandemic, she had people send in pictures with the National Portrait Gallery. They created a book together and they sold it. And then they did this whole campaign where they left copies around England, and people could grab it for free if they wanted to and let other people know they had it. I mean, that Hold Still was just such the right note to hit. And not that, you know, other people couldn't have done it. Meghan obviously did the cookbook. But I think, especially during the pandemic, it married her interest in photography and, you know, and as a patron of the National Portrait Gallery, it hit the right note in terms of COVID and everything. So I think Catherine just has really grown into these projects. And now you have her early, you know, childhood development program. And she's really the Royal Foundation for Early Childhood, and so she's really focused on that. She went to a visit in Denmark, and I don't know if maybe that was offered to her, if she said, well, I like their program and I want to go see more about it, and they created a visit around that, which is great because it's showing her interest that she's evolving this, and she's not just, and she did this huge survey with it as well, so she's not just doing the little things, she's doing the big things, and she's doing a follow through. I think you look at Harry and Meghan, and not to just make the comparisons, but I think it is helpful, is I feel like we didn't get a bunch of follow through with Meghan, especially after leaving royal life. You know, she just dropped everything, pretty much. She's no longer patron of Mayhew, which is the animal place, and she could have been, I think, still that, but she just was like, well, I can't do royal anymore, so I won't follow anything through. And I think Catherine has really started this process of really seeing projects through to their fruition, and I think that's a huge asset for the monarchy. And then you see her relationship with the Queen, Prince Charles, and Princess Anne, and Countess Sophie, and so many members of the royal family. They all seem to genuinely like her. And I think it was a bit of a process. It wasn't immediate. And I think obviously if you come into a new family, you know, there is, you know, kind of learning everyone. And I'm sure she was introduced to most of them, but she also doesn't know them super well because, you know, she wasn't invited to many of those, you know, the family Christmas at Sandringham and stuff. She was not included in those events. And so, you know, she did some periphery things, but when she married in, you know, she had this whole family, and it's a very intimidating family. Over the years, we've seen that she's really become, I think, quite close to the vast majority of them. I think her and Zara Phillips are pretty close, and their kids are close. I think she's hung out with, you know, Autumn Phillips and, you know, Peter Phillips. Even though they've gotten divorced, they're close with their kids. And so she's really, you know, their children, the Cambridge kids, hang out a lot with, you know, their extended cousins. And I think she's close with Princess Beatrice, not as close with Princess Eugenie, but you know, all the royal family members, pretty much all the younger generation came to support her during the Christmas Carol last year. And so that they all came in shows that there's just this groundswelling of support for her. And I think she's just been this wonderful calming influence on the monarchy. And she just really, again, she does this great balance of modern royals, which is, you know, you kind of know what she's like, but she still keeps a bit of a mystique about her. And they've talked as well about, because she is so family oriented, I think she kind of brings the royal family together a bit. And it's been reported recently, and I think this is either in Tina Brown's book or the new book about William coming out, that she really helped foster and grow the relationship between Charles and William, because I think there was a bit of a tension between the two of them. And you know, and we saw this lovely, lovely picture of Charles leaning on William's shoulder, and that was from a couple of years ago. And that picture, I think, is just such a blessing. And I think her photography, it was good, but it wasn't fantastic at first, but it's just gotten better and better and better. And she gets these great pictures of her children, of, you know, her family members. Capturing that image of Charles and William, I think, will just be a huge asset to the monarchy. That she's managed to help them get closer together, I think, is fantastic. And I just think Catherine has really, she's turned waiting into a blessing. Yes, she had this horrible name, Waity Katie. I mean, they even put it on a bus. They taunted her with it. And, you know, there's been reports as well that she was made fun of because her mother was a flight attendant and she wasn't technically part of the aristocratic set. I mean, she kind of was, but she was kind of more on the periphery. Because if you don't know, the UK works very differently than a place like the States, where in that the aristocracy, like, you can be dirt poor and be an aristocrat. And you are in these very selective circles, and they don't talk. They are very, very protective of their own. And it's very, I feel like, unlike, you know, I think we have a little bit of that here, but it's like very, very hard to break into the aristocratic set. Like, you see the Beckhams, they kind of do it, try to do it, but they can't really break into kind of that world because it's a very insular world. It's a very old world. You know, families have known each other for generations. And so she was called Waity Katie. I think Catherine has truly turned Waity Katie into Kate the Great. And I think that name, that she actually, you know, it was a derogatory nickname, but she has taken the time. She's waited. She's bided her time to be the perfect moment, and she's blossomed on the international stage. And I think that is fantastic to see. And I think she's proven the naysayers wrong. And so I think we will see some very well-adjusted Cambridge kids. And I think she'll really truly become an excellent queen consort. So guys, that's my video for today. I just think Catherine is just to watch her grow, I think is great. I was always waiting for her to finally bust out of her shell, and she finally did. So guys, let me know what you think. Do you think Catherine's still Waity Katie or Kate the Great? So let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. I got a couple other videos planned for this weekend. I think I'll get one up Friday, but I'm not sure. So anyways, guys, thank you again for watching. I really appreciate it. Click subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you very, very soon. Bye.